Midnight on Zhengzhou Avenue, Henan. This is you. This is Henan, with a massive ride of 100,000 cyclists heading straight for Kaifeng.
Recently, large groups of university students in Zhengzhou, China, have been embarking on a major nighttime ride to Kaifeng, creating quite the spectacle. Some observers are calling it the night riding movement, or even the Battle of Kaifeng. This event, peaking on the night of November 8th, saw long lines of bikes stretching for miles and the city practically filled with shared bicycles. Reports say students from all over China participated. According to Chinese media, these students biked in groups, riding shared bikes from Zhengzhou to Kaifeng, which is 50 kilometers away. After spending the night in Kaifeng, they returned to Zhengzhou the next day on the intercity train. Their slogan has been going viral online. Youth is priceless. The night ride to Kaifeng is a win. It all began in June when 4 female students from Zhengzhou set off on a night ride to Kaifeng, craving authentic soup dumplings. Their video sparked attention, and since November, the university night ride to Kaifeng phenomenon has taken off. Following this, Kaifeng's major tourist sites began offering free admission for night ride warriors. This influx of students, however, led to serious congestion. On the night of November 8th, parts of Zhengkai Avenue from Zhengzhou to Kaifeng were entirely overtaken by these night riders. According to unofficial sources, at least 200,000 people joined. With the severe traffic jam, Zhengzhou traffic police quickly imposed temporary controls. On site, barriers were installed between vehicle and non-vehicle lanes, and more barriers were being put up ahead. In some areas, barriers were still lying by the roadside, ready to be set up. A Zhengzhou resident named Li shared with Chinese media that a trip that normally takes just over an hour took 3 hours that night. He said there were cyclists, motorcyclists, pedestrians, and onlookers. The crowds were overwhelming. Another resident recounted his journey. He and his family were trying to get back to their hometown in Kaifeng. They left Zhengzhou East Station at 9:35 p.m., and by 10:30 p.m., they were still stuck on the side road of the East 4th Ring, just 500 meters from where they started. He noted that what should have been a 1-hour trip now took 2.5 hours according to his GPS, and it's unheard of to be stuck in traffic at 10 p.m. on a typical Friday night. To handle the crowds, Kaifeng's major tourist sites offered free entry to students. Yet, the sudden popularity of these night rides has made authorities uneasy. Early on November 9th, Kaifeng's official social media accounts posted multiple statements, urging students to avoid gathering in large numbers, to stay responsible, and to be safe while having fun. On November 9th, the major bike-sharing platforms, Meituan, Hello, and Qingju, issued statements. While they acknowledged that this way of traveling is eco-friendly and affordable, they urged riders to reconsider and reduce such activities. Some comments on Weibo said, "Whenever people gather, they get worried. Shared bikes are probably close to being banned. Can they give students a break for the weekend? Now they can't even go home because of the night rides." First, nobody organized this. It was spontaneous. Second, Zhengzhou's universities have tried to curb it, even arranging weekend exams, but it didn't stop anyone. These are adults, and you can't keep them locked in. Third, so many students came from outside Zhengzhou, some even by high-speed rail, buses, or flights. It's not just Zhengzhou students. One local, Mr. Shi, said, "Residents are thrilled, and everyone's really happy. We welcome them with open arms because this is youth, energy, and vitality. Those who hesitate or overthink, who are too caught up in rigid ways, will never understand. Their lives are like unremarkable ants." Some videos from the event have reached overseas, sparking comments like, "Who says gatherings or protests aren't possible in China? These students are showing exactly how it's done." Look closely. Does history keep repeating itself? Universities shut down during the pandemic, just like during the Cultural Revolution. Back then, students traveled across the country for the revolution. Now, they're riding through the night. Youth are channeling their energy everywhere. This is a form of indirect protest. Releasing a bit of pent-up frustration can actually be a good thing. This is the reserve army of the unemployed, and they're smart. The authorities are probably nervous. On November 9th, Zhengzhou's bike-sharing platforms released a joint statement. They announced that riders exceeding the usual area limits would receive a continuous 3-minute warning before the bikes automatically locked. Zhengzhou police also imposed restrictions from 4 p.m. on November 9th to noon on November 10th, prohibiting non-motorized vehicles on the Zhengkai Avenue section within Zhengzhou. Similarly, Kaifeng police issued a ban on non-motorized vehicles along their part of Zhengkai Avenue during the same time frame. Reports circulated online about additional measures for maintaining order. Some noted the education system across the province held emergency meetings, while traffic controls were imposed in Zhengzhou and Kaifeng. The police and universities worked around the clock. In fact, our dorm supervisors have been on full-time duty, conducting night checks. Teachers in many Zhengzhou schools sent out messages in class groups advising students not to join the night rides to Kaifeng. They asked students who stayed out overnight to inform their teachers promptly, warning that participation could result in disciplinary action under school rules. A post on X featured an internal notice from a university in Henan, stating that over 200,000 people had joined the night ride to Kaifeng, including cyclists, motorcyclists, and even car drivers, along with many people from the wider community. The notice also mentioned antisocial individuals with ulterior motives and some hostile foreign agents allegedly joining the event. The notice instructed students who had taken leave to return by 6 a.m. on the 9th, barring special circumstances. It also noted that from November 9th, bikes from Zhengzhou wouldn't reach Kaifeng, and Kaifeng parks would revert to their usual opening hours. The night riding movement even impacted neighboring provinces. An urgent notice from Shanxi's Department of Education on November 8th instructed all students to stay in for a week and asked schools to report any students intending to travel to Kaifeng. Some schools have issued strict notices, banning students from night riding to Kaifeng. Some even claimed that anti-party individuals had joined the rides, spreading dangerous messages that threatened national security. They instructed students to return immediately, tallying the participants and providing chartered buses for timely return. Teachers were also told to use GPS to track students, demanding that those still in Zhengzhou or Kaifeng return by Saturday noon, with penalties for those who remained outside. In recent years, the Chinese authorities have ramped up their internet surveillance across society, with universities becoming a major target. Reports suggest that a university in Sichuan even employs staff specifically to monitor class group chats, student social media spaces, and WeChat moments. A former professor at Capital Normal University, Li Yuanhua, explained that surveillance in universities used to be simpler, with each class having a teaching information officer. That person's job was to report on teachers to the Academic Affairs Office. Now, however, there's broad surveillance covering the entire class, with both students and teachers under watch. Independent commentator Du Zheng believes that this recent large-scale night ride by students signals a failure in the usual surveillance systems. Authorities may now seek to hold students accountable, with some possibly facing accusations of colluding with foreign forces. This could be viewed as a form of soft resistance against the authorities, which is why some are calling this the night ride movement. Many online are dubbing this event the Second Battle of Kaifeng. The Battle of Kaifeng during 1640 to 1641 was a peasant uprising at the end of the Ming Dynasty. The other night, videos show crowds of students walking their bikes in heavy traffic, with a large police presence on the scene for crowd control. Some overseas commentators suggest that the authorities are now treating this night ride to Kaifeng as a political incident, or that it's gradually becoming politicized. According to their usual approach to eliminate instability at its source, authorities seem to be taking early action. One overseas commentator noted, the Zhengzhou students' night ride to Kaifeng has raised the authorities' concern. It's noteworthy because it's a large-scale, non-government-led activity with shared interests, reminiscent of the White Paper movement during the pandemic, and before that, the events of 1989. Each of these has certainly kept the authorities on edge. The students' motivation here is simple. They wanted an affordable trip using shared bikes to free attractions, a style of travel that's become popular in recent years. Some online users jokingly remarked that while students took their low-budget tour last night, Henan was left in disarray with no economic benefit. With the Chinese economy slowing down, many have reduced their spending, sparking a trend of budget travel, particularly what's called special ops tourism or guerrilla-style tourism. They set off on Friday nights or early on the weekend, aiming to visit as many spots as possible on minimal time and money, pushing their physical limits like special forces. Meanwhile, youth unemployment in China has soared, hitting a record 21.3% in June of last year, which led the authorities to temporarily stop reporting the youth unemployment rate. Even with changes in calculation methods, the unemployment rate for urban youth aged 16 to 24, excluding students, still stood at 18.8% in August this year and remained high in September. With 12 million graduates entering the job market this year, unemployment upon graduation has become the norm. A study by Peking University last year indicated that there are around 96 million urban residents aged 16 to 24 in China, roughly half of whom are in school, while another 33 million are either working or job hunting. However, 16 million youth, about 17%, are unaccounted for, suggesting that if we include those who are not in school, not working, or not in training, the youth unemployment rate could reach as high as 46.5%. This means around 22 million young people are in a state of unemployment. A report by the China Macroeconomics Forum at Renmin University of China warns that youth unemployment may remain unresolved for the next decade. If mishandled, this issue could spark not only economic problems, but also social and even political challenges. With such bleak prospects, many young Chinese face tough choices: accept low-paying jobs, rely on their parents, or simply lie low and do nothing. A Chinese political analyst told South China Morning Post that historically, youth unemployment has been a significant factor in Chinese revolutions, student movements, and crime rates. Economic decline affects both students and their families' mindsets, fostering negativity and a belief that society has no future. He added that some students no longer see the point of studying, feeling that it won't lead to anything meaningful. Sociology professor Zhou Yun at the University of Michigan told Reuters, for many Chinese graduates, a university degree no longer guarantees better job prospects, upward social mobility, or a brighter future. On November 24, 2022, a fire in Urumqi's Tianshan district resulting in 10 deaths and 9 injuries. At the end of November, historic protests erupted in Shanghai against the strict zero-COVID policies, with people shouting slogans like "Step down Xi Jinping" and "Step down Communist Party." These protests, which erupted on Urumqi Road, was later called the White Paper Movement. It spread to multiple cities and alarmed the authorities, leading to post-event crackdowns. Many young people involved in the protests eventually moved overseas. Chen Xiaolei, a participant in the movement from Zhuhai, Guangdong, told international media that many students in China are simply afraid to resist, but they access real information through VPNs and their own networks. He advised against violent revolution, saying the Communist Party fears the awakening of the people the most. He said, as long as people are aware and refuse to cooperate with the government, nonviolent resistance makes it hard for the government to function. Some overseas observers noted that certain images from the cycling movement evoke scenes from the 1989 Tiananmen protests. In one iconic moment, a student wearing a red band rode a bicycle to Tiananmen Square, and when a BBC cameraman asked why he was doing it, he replied in English, "It's my responsibility." This young man has since become a symbol for commemorating Tiananmen. A post composed of over 100 bicycle emojis has also been widely shared. In late 2023, as the anniversary of the White Paper Movement approached, a song called "This Is My Responsibility" was taken down in China. It had been composed and sung by Yin Fi, a Chinese musician now based in the UK. The song was inspired by a student's speech at Columbia University. Analyst Yue Shan remarked that the timing of this night ride movement from Zhengzhou to Kaifeng coincides with the 2-year anniversary of the White Paper Movement in late November. He added that Kaifeng has symbolic significance as the location where the Northern Song Dynasty's Baozheng, known for justice, held court. Young people flocking to Kaifeng in such numbers seem symbolic, as if hoping for someone like Baozheng to stand up for the people. Latest updates reveal that as Zhengzhou students were riding toward Kaifeng on November 9th, students in Nanjing began heading towards Ma'anshan. Videos show Nanjing students waving the Communist Party's flag, similar to the students in Zhengzhou. Analysts believe the students are using the flag to lower risks and ensure the activity goes forward. It seems a new student movement has begun, and it could spread across the country.